Hi, this is Sarah McLeod, your host for Proven Cures, and I want to thank you for tuning in to part 2 of this discussion about the possible health risks associated with the use of menstrual cups. They are becoming fairly popular nowadays, with so many people reporting their pleasure in using them as opposed to tampons and pads. And I really wanted to look at some clinical evaluations of these menstrual cups just to see how safe they are. I mean, we do know that they stop the proliferation of blood. They stop odor, which is wonderful. A lot of women are actually having sex with them without having to deal with blood interfering with the moment. So a lot of people are enjoying them and they're flying off the shelves. But let's be a little bit more grounded and thinking more about our health also, because these are foreign bodies that we're putting into ourselves. So we really need to know what we're putting into our bodies. So I actually found this study published recently. It was published April 20th, 2018, in a journal called the Applied Environmental Microbiology. And the name of the study is Impact of Currently Marketed Tampons and Menstrual Cups on Staphylococcus aureus Growth and TSST, that stands for Toxic Shock Syndrome Toxin 1 Production in Vitro. Okay, so clearly, just by looking at the title of the study, the things that women need to be worried about health-wise is the production of Staphylococcus aureus bacteria while they're protecting themselves during that time of the month, because the accumulation of it does lead to toxic shock syndrome in a lot of women, which is life-threatening, can be fatal. So this study in particular compares tampons and menstrual cups because they're both insertable, internal protective measures against bleeding spills during menstruation. Now, during the 1960s and 70s, some women completely shunned the use of tampons due to the fear of toxic shock syndrome, because back then tampons were made of carboxymethylcellulose and polyester fibers. Nowadays, tampons are predominantly made from cotton or a mix of cotton and viscose or cotton and rayon, but some women are still getting sick. Like 1 in 100,000 women are still developing toxic shock syndrome. Now, the reason why toxic shock syndrome can occur in an otherwise healthy woman is because the tampon itself collects shedding from the lining of the uterus instead of letting it just flow out like if you were only just wearing a pad. So that makes the tampon itself a literal petri dish for bacterial growth. So one particular strain of bacteria known as Staphylococcus aureus, or staph, actually is what leads to toxic shock syndrome once it reaches a certain threshold of accumulation. I typed everything out so I would sound succinct and I wouldn't throw you off with my own sidebars, which I tend to do sometimes. Toxic shock syndrome is also higher with the use of super absorbent tampons. And that is probably, I would bet money on it, because we leave them in longer. We leave in the super absorbent tampons in longer because they absorb more for less spills. So you might also be wondering, how would you even know if you have I'm so having such difficulty with this acronym, with this TSS. How do you know if you have TSS? I'm just going to say TSS. The symptoms of TSS include fever, low blood pressure, developing a rash, vomiting, and also multiple organ dysfunctions. But although that is life-threatening, it can be treated with antibiotics and you can bounce back from it. So don't think, oh my God, if I get TSS, I'm just going to die on the spot. No, you can survive it. And this study compares the risk of developing TSS from the accumulation of Staphylococcus aureus bacteria in both tampons and menstrual cups. The unique thing about this study, however, is that instead of using female subjects, scientists created simulated environments for both tampons and menstrual cups. It's very interesting, actually. So in order to make the experimental group, they first put the tampons and menstrual cups into separate sterile plastic bags. Then they poured solutions into the bags that contained Staphylococcus aureus bacteria, hermetically sealed the bags to get all of the excess air out. And then they created the warmth of the human body by incubating the bags at 37 degrees Celsius, which is the normal temperature of the human body, for 8 hours. Okay, so that is how they created their experimental group. The control group, or the group to which the experimental group was compared, were basically simply bags of bacteria, bacteria-laden solution, also incubated at the same 37 degrees Celsius, but without tampons or menstrual cups in them. Instead, tampons would be kneaded by hand in these bags. Like when I say knead, like when people roll bread and they knead bread, that kind of way. So they would knead tampons in these bags for 5 seconds, and then the fluid would be squeezed out of the tampon in order to test for bacterial accumulation. Likewise, 15 milliliters of that same Staphylococcus aureus laden solution was placed into the menstrual cups, and the cups were then cut into sections so that the resultant biofilm could be examined. All right, so now for the results. First of all, surprisingly enough, growth of the staph infection was not higher in the tampons that incubated for 8 hours versus those that were exposed for 5 seconds. So that's surprised me a little bit. Also, the tampons made of a cotton and rayon mix, like Tampax tampons, or a cotton and viscose mix, like tampons made by OB, actually inhibited or prevented the growth of Staphylococcus bacteria. That's very good to know. So that information actually rebukes a common misconception that tampons that are made just totally from cotton are intrinsically safer. Not necessarily. Not at all, actually. Based on what this study has shown, because the all cotton tampons do not inhibit the growth of bacteria. So now for the menstrual cups, not much difference in staph accumulation was noted either between the cups that were incubated for 8 hours versus those that were briefly filled and emptied with the staph solution. Let me tell you, menstrual cups, however, made from TPE, also known as thermoplastic elastomer, showed significantly lower risk for the development of staph infection compared to cups made from silicone. So in case you're wondering right now what cups on the market are made from thermoplastic elastomer, they are the Meluna cup, MELUNA, and I don't know how to pronounce the other one. If it's OI, the OI cup. Those two cups on the market right now are made of thermoplastic elastomer. Researchers further surmised that there was a difference in staph buildup between cups that were incubated whole versus pieces that were cut off, because they did do that. They did slice some of the cups into pieces and put them in bags and suctioned all the air out of the bags and then tested the bacterial growth. And of course, more air could be removed from the bags that just had slices of cups in them compared to the bags that had whole cups in them. Okay, so air was definitely considered to be attributed to bacterial growth. So with this reveal now, research suggests that the safest cups are not only made from thermoplastic elastomer, but are small in size. And the reason for that is because air enters the vagina with the insertion of every cup. And this increases risk for Staphylococcus aureus growth. Also, it is extremely important that cup users follow the instructions for emptying the cups that come with whatever product they buy. And the reason for this is that when the volume of blood exceeds the capacity of the cup, toxic shock syndrome toxin, that TSST1 that's in the title of the study, produced in the menstrual fluid, comes in contact with the delicate mucous membranes inside of the vagina, and that allows for easy transfer of that toxin right into the bloodstream and the development of toxic shock syndrome. So cups that were incubated for 8 hours and washed 3 times in water still showed a significant amount of Staphylococcus aureus bacteria even after 3 washes. So based on this information, researchers suggest that instead of just rinsing off a cup and reinserting it, which I've seen a lot of ads showing women doing that, they say, oh, when I'm done, I just rinse it off in tap water and I can put it back in. They're saying don't do that because it does not get rid of the bacteria, and you can in fact be reinfecting yourself, so to speak. So what you should do is use a second cup so that you can boil each cup in between uses. So that is all. If you still prefer to use menstrual cups, I think I'm still going to probably buy 2 for myself just to give this a try because I like all the other benefits women are getting from them. So if you still want to use them as an alternative to tampons and pads, please keep these points in mind. Smaller cups made from thermoplastic elastomers are safer. Follow the instructions for emptying them on time and boil them after every use. And I hope this was as helpful for you as it was for me personally. Like, share, and subscribe, and comment too if I said anything that you want to dispute or that you agree with, or you're just grateful for the information like I am. I'm grateful for having found this information. Let me know. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.